Welcome back to last week's news today. Big news this week, so we are going to dive straight into it. Steven announced that NDA spot testing has begun. In December, Intrepid will conduct more spot testing, including major headless client testing. If you already have the Alpha 1 launcher, you might see an update in the next couple of weeks. What that means, we don't know. Steven later clarified what general testing is about for those who are unsure of how it will work, which is in general testing is most often a particular system loop or curated content while collecting metrics on performance and functionality. And Margaret also cleared up some misunderstanding about when the announcement for the A2 quarter will be. The announcement will be made in the December live stream. Steven revealed what the showcase for December and January will be. In December, we'll get a closer look at the update to Ranger, and in January, we'll have our first PvP preview as they will showcase a large PvP battle around caravans. Good news to all those waiting to see some action. Now on to artisanship. In order to start crafting, Steven gathered a range of resources. While we've seen gathering before, the developers reminded everyone that certain resources will only be available during specific times of the day, seasons, events, etc., while corrupted zones also disturb the resource spawners. Additionally, we learned that a player's certification level will determine whether they can gather a particular resource. They have updated some of the animations for gathering we noticed as well. We learned that players can now become a Grandmaster of 2 professions. In order to progress your tier with a profession, you must complete certifications. For example, you'll need to be an apprentice in lumberjacking before you can do the certification for journeyman in lumberjacking. You won't be a Grandmaster in professions that you were never an apprentice at. If you're a Grandmaster miner and lumberjack, then you're also a master miner and lumberjack. The crafting example shown is the process of creating a Nightblade sword. Steven has the recipe in his bag, and it's great to see that the tooltip displays all the necessary information about the craftable item at a glance. We can see it requires novice weaponsmithing, the materials needed, and even the basic stats of the Nightblade. I'll be honest though, that red font seriously hurts my eyes. The developers go on to explain that most recipes need to be learned only once. However, some unique recipes may have a charge count. For instance, a recipe that can only be used for 5 crafts, and once completed, it is removed from your recipe list. We can see the devs running through the node, and some of the buildings have changed since the node preview stream. This gives us an idea of how the same node can look different depending on the service building types mayors choose to build in advance. We can see agricultural supply areas with herbalism, farming, and animal husbandry. Steven picks up a quest from the agricultural supplier to craft a sickle. Many of these quests provide your starter set of tools, and we can see the crafting menu for the sickle at the anvil. And even though the UI is still a work in progress, it already looks quite clean. It will be interesting to see how it evolves. Currently, we only see fast crafting. The developers discussed that the manual crafting system is still being integrated and isn't quite ready to be shown yet. The developers remind us that for many craftable items, the resources will come from different professions, and you won't always be able to source them yourself, kind of like in Star Wars Galaxies. We then get a preview of the Artisan tab. I love to see equipped tools on the right hand side. You can also observe the durability bar, which is a neat quality of life display. We can also see some of the basic gear and bags that you can buy that will improve your beginning crafting stats. Material bags have been updated to clearly show which profession the bag type belongs to. As resources are picked up, they are automatically prioritized by their stack size and then by available slots. We got a brief look at the skill tree for novice lumberjacking as they are upgrading the lumberjacking certification from novice to apprentice. This is done through a quest, which is a similar process to what was shown with the quest from the agricultural supplier. Players can process wood at the lumber mill, and one of the stations is debarking, which is quite interesting. A fuel source is required to initiate the process, similar to the processing mechanics in New World. All processes need some kind of fuel source. Each resource will have a fuel value associated with it, and different recipes will require specific amounts of fuel. Some resources will serve a purely functional purpose for fuel and will have a high value, such as charcoal. Fuel will always be consumed, even if you quit the job. Players will be able to queue their processing orders if they have multiple resources. These queues are personal and not influenced by other players while in the node, but they are limited inside freeholds. The number of available slots will be determined by the progression of the service station. The amount you can craft at one time is known as job size. The job size will be set, for example, as 1 or 5, and these figures will be determined by policies, relics, and progression pushed for by the node. The Nightblade looks pretty sick once they finished it, and it was great to see how crafted items will have required resources and selected resources that can increase and or change what powers the weapon has, depending on the type and quality of the resources. The developers also touched on the sub-recipe system that allows you to change the stat blocks, which might involve selecting specific options to achieve certain stat attributes. They mentioned that sub-recipes could be learned by leveling up your recipe through crafting the item multiple times or acquiring them from vendor recipes or world boss drops. Now on to the art montage. And that's all for now. See y'all next time.